Welcome to another edition of Dave's Imaginations presents Dark Queen Ascension, Curse of Strahd, Adventures in Barovia. Let's recap this week's action right now. Okay, so when last we met, our adventurers had just defeated a trio of women that they believed to be witches. The females, these women magic user people who wore a hat, who carried a broom, who turned themselves into rats, and self-admittedly were agents of Strahd and were trying to become more and more powerful so that they could serve Strahd better. And in last week's episode, they defeated these women and they unceremoniously slaughtered them. They had done nothing wrong to them, and they still destroyed those three women, believing that they were going to get all this power and they were going to be too powerful for them to beat later, which was probably going to be true. But they took care of them and left them, threw them in with a fireball and destroyed those three women, leaving only their witch's hat that they picked up and they ultimately gave Katota. And with the end of that week, they retreated to a room to take a well-deserved rest. And in this room there was a shield guardian, and they were trying to debate how they were going to get that shield guardian up and going, as well as what would their next steps be. So let's jump over, and this time I think we're going to try just watching the video. So here's our video, our live broadcast of the game, and I'm just gonna jump throughout this game and see. Here's where we started, right? The party in this room with the shield guardian as they debate what they're gonna do next. And if we just move forward, and we would see, let's see here, what is a good spot? They were debating what they were going to do next, and they had thought that they might go try to go to a door that was to the north here. And actually, they wanted to get that shield guardian first. So they knew the amulet that would control that shield guardian, they had remembered, was on the neck of Vilnius, who had perished in the room. But that room has since locked. But that room had a hole in the top, and that they had capped off with a door, and they believed they could get in and out. So the first part of the adventure, they had spent figuring that out. So Varinka had used her echo ability to get up on top of this balcony and back her way into that room. All right, this is pretty good. As Varinka used her echo ability to jump on the balcony, go through the first floor, jump down through the hole, get the amulet from Vilnius's neck, and then echo her way back. All right, and now they have the shield amulet, but yet they don't really know how. They gave it to Olak, who has a tinker ability in his past, but they have that, and they needed to know how to use it, and so they needed to tune to it. And then I challenged them a little bit on the holy symbol of Ravenkind, their bow, as well as the witch's hat. So they could attune to it, and we had some fun with that witch's hat, as it was kind of a hat of 100 witchy things. And I said he could either call out a number, and whatever was in that slot would jump to him, or if he could think of a witchy thing, and if he shouted out, it would pop into his hand, and maybe it'd appear, maybe it wouldn't. And so I think that's gonna be a little fun for our chaotic wizard, cleric, whatever he is. And so here they're moving around, they're getting in position as they decide what they're gonna do next. I think they're getting ready to investigate the rest of this level. Varinka used his fine flock of familiars, and so he summoned 3 different familiars as Maybe we can figure that out where he did that. Yeah, so very quickly he's gonna summon his flock of familiar. There they are: a spider, a bird, and a mouse. And so he started to go check out these rooms. As we move forward, we jump forward, and in these rooms, there wasn't a whole lot that he found. That basically he figured out what was in these rooms. The most interesting thing was in this room up to the north here, where they actually did find. If I jump here and get out of this for a second, they did find a group of Nothics. So these creepy looking guys. Was there 4 of them in there? And but so that was pretty cool. And really the bird being quiet and was able to get up there and move back, and it's kind of not imposing, and I don't know if these creatures would have attacked it. So, and they didn't attack it. So we jump back as we keep going. Oh, and here I think I'm going to show them that Nothic. Yeah. And there we go. And then they moved down and they found stairs. And as we move forward, they cleared this other room to the north. It was just full of rubble. I initially said there was a hole in the wall, and I later retracted that and said it was actually just a part of the ceiling that was of a different texture, of a different feel to it. That maybe there's something special there. They haven't gotten back to that. The spider, they wanted to go into the other room, and I said that had some DM protection on it. That was a door that the spider wasn't going to be able to get into. And so after that, what did they do? Oh, they did send the bird, I believe it was. No, it was a mouse, went up the stairs, and so they found the door up the second level. So meanwhile, while all that was happening, let's see here what goes on next. After they investigated those rooms, it was time to figure out how to get into that room that was sealed. And let's move up there. Oh, one other thing to mention was so here, they sent the bird out and back to that initial room that they looked at through the crevice, and they found that room was full of, I believe it was 5 or 6 barbaric creatures and a huge wolf. And the creatures saw the bird and tried to feed it, but Noel had the bird retreat and came back into the building. So, good use of those familiars. So now that they have a pretty good idea of open spaces, they felt like they could continue on. I had a lot of fun with this game, especially with that witch's hat, and then ultimately with the gifts they got at the end. All right, so then they decided about how were they going to get in this room, and so Varinka moved forward with her echo, I believe it was, and tried the door, and it wouldn't budge. It had the runes, and so they sent this shield guardian that they now control. Olak sent that forward, and there was a little bit of debate of whether or not they would use knock and open the door, because they've done that before, or they'd bash that door in, and they decided to bash the door in. And sadly, though, as written, when they bash that door in, it lets out a huge necrotic explosion, of which Brinka herself was right up there and took a considerable amount of damage. But they did get the door open. And it is the room that they had been looking for, as there was piles of treasure in there. And as they're standing there, I described it as she peeks around the corner, she sees the treasure, and she can feel and hear the steps of the shield guardian, and steps, but the shield guardian was right there. So something heavy was walking toward her, and so she I thought she would retreat, but she decided not to. They actually pulled the shield guardian back, and as it got halfway back, Olak saw that Varinka wasn't retreating, but yet Varinka said, "No, go on, go on." And but by the time the shield guardian got back, sadly, something hit Varinka in the chest, and this poor. I rolled double 20s on that roll, and it did an incredible amount of damage to Varinka, putting her down. And with that, they knew something was going on there. Yeah, here I mark her as unconscious as we start initiative, and this is another case of when we have initiative, when we're in a situation like this and we need to start initiative. I like to give each person a chance in the order in which they would get there, instead of saying, like in this case, right? We'd have Strider and Katota all the way in back. If they were to get a highest initiative, that doesn't make sense to me. It seems like it's reasonable to say the people that are the closest would get the first response. So I like to do that for at least the first round, and as they have those responses, roll the initiative, and then from there take the initiative count. So I gave the people closest with their first reactions, and then as they did that, we get into the battle. And then that might be a little behind the curtain opportunity here. If I go into my D&D screen, it's kind of a little bit behind the curtain, this is where hopefully you can see this. This is where I keep all my notes, and so I have each of the characters, I have some of their main stats, and then I have the monsters that I think might happen. And so here you can see the golem that we ultimately ended up battling. So in this, so that's my spreadsheet. And so as they take their turns, I will add their initiative count in, and then I'll resort in descending order to figure out what the turn order is from there. Oh, it looks like my sheet got off whack a little bit here. Let's just fix that real quick. Fixed. Okay, so back to here, and we see the battle is beginning as something has knocked her unconscious, and so they see that and they respond in kind. And let's keep jumping forward. So they try fire, but whatever it was passed its save and it didn't get highlighted. And Olak rushes up, and that was a little bit of a mistake, because again, whatever it is invisible, and it strikes, and it should have advantage. And I didn't really roll with advantage, but yet again, I rolled a 20 and a 15. I hit once. The 15 should have hit, but I didn't add the modifier, so he only took the one hit. But those one hits were pretty powerful, as it takes I think it was 19 points damage on average. So he was taking some damage, but the shield guardian was pretty awesome too, because it takes half of its damage, and that shield guardian regains 10 hit points every round. So that was very powerful for it. And let's see, what was I looking up here? I was bringing up Irina's character sheet to see what her initiative was. Ruckus moves forward, and he's debating what he's going to do as we quickly run through this battle here. This battle took up the bulk of the night, but I think it was worth it. Oh, one thing to notice was they couldn't be out here exposed too much, because off to the far side of this gallery, up on the second level, our glowing had spotted that there was these arrow slits, and he could see the green glow of more flaming skulls up there, and the possibility of a fireball was looming. They were also leery of the statue here, as it had previously hit him with a lightning bolt. So they did a really good job, staying in the wake, in the shadow of this pillar, and then ducking underneath this balcony. This dotted line is a balcony, and so they're underneath that and not really visible if there were something in the head of the statue. as they progress, eventually, I think it was one of them did a dispel magic on whatever was there, and I let them do it in that space. The dispel magic would reveal anything of level 4 or less, and we looked up, and greater invisibility is level 4, revealing the amber golem that they were battling, which was basically a stone golem, right? Stone golem, but it was using amber golem was using the stone golem's stats, but boy, it hits like a truck. And but Olaf moves forward, and it was taking the punches because that shield guardian was mitigating some of those some of that damage and a variety of attacks. So they weren't hitting well, and I was rolling really well. So they take tactical positions in their battle. Eventually, they just pummel it, right? They all took the chance. Now this golem did have a special ability. Do I still have it up? I do not still have it up. Let's bring it up. There's the Nothic. The amber doors to the south are sealed with the arcane lock. The password is that characters can push the door open with this. It can also be smashed. The doors are reduced to 0. A greater invisibility spell is cast on the amber golem in this room, and that spell lasts for a minute. And so, and with the door open, it attacks. And this amber golem was really used the stat block for the stone golem. If I open that another link here, if we look at this guy is no joke. As it immune to a lot of stuff, damage immunities, condition immunities. Has magic resist. This magic resistance was also given them fits, as anytime they hit him with something, it has advantage on the saving throws. And then it has multi attacks that were plus 10 to hit, and then 3d8 plus 6 damage. And I only used this slow once, and it was toward the end, and everyone passed except for Varinka. But by then it was time for it to. It was almost done anyway. Now jumping back over here to the video, toward the end, ultimately, Varinka hit it with some sort of wall of fire, I believe it was, and destroyed it, melted the amber down into a puddle of amber, and of which they were able to scoot around. Oh, another thing to say, Strider investigated the statue because if you can see here, you can see the picture kind of gives away that there's stairs going up into the head of the statue. And so he's looking for a way to get in. And I'm sorry, Strider, you just didn't roll good enough, buddy. And you couldn't figure it out. But ultimately the Amber Golem perished, and everyone made their way into the treasure room. Now, one thing, Wes, if you actually watch this, I did challenge you to figure out how much gold you could fit in a bag, because that's how much gold you'd be able to carry. That's how much gold you would get, because there's more gold here than you could possibly carry. And I debated about maybe holding off in the Sun Sword until the next room, but I went with the game, with how it was supposed to be, and the Madame Ava's card. Fortune said the Sun Sword was in here, and you found it. But that Sun Sword is just a hilt, but you were able to find it in all the treasure. Everyone worked their way into this room. Eventually, Strider was really hesitant, but eventually he made it in there, and they were all gasping as they'd just taken a bunch of damage. And they were debating about ending there, and above the table I had to tell them, no, you really want to go in the next room. And so they did push their way in there, and I'm glad they did, because and that was a perfect place to end the night, because in this room I had created custom, air quote, dark gifts for each of them, tailored to each of their characters. And so once they got in this room, I was able to, and I think it worked out pretty smoothly, how they each went in there. Let's see what this picture is. Oh, yeah. So there was a question of what is a humanoid. And so they each got in there. They each had their visions. I didn't verbalize the vision for each of them, but as they got in there, that I said, you have your vision, and said an email was sent. So they each got an email. You each got an email, and and in there is a temptation for their character, a gift, a pretty darn powerful, really game-changing gift. These were custom gifts. These aren't out of the book, and I'm hoping that there's some storylines that can come out of that, and some quest ideas, some desires, giving the character some desires of things to do in the future. And so we'll see what they accept and what they don't, because there is a dark catch to each one. And I will reiterate that these gifts that I gave them, there was no tricks. I do not intend to trick you in the future with these. What was written is what I intend to give you. So there might be a spin on an interpretation of what it is, but I'm not trying to trick them in any way. Gifts are exactly what I had sent them. And with that is pretty much where we ended the night. One thing, in each of the gifts, I did say two things, a couple things I said. First of all, they had to renounce any other gifts they had already received, and really, I didn't say it, but you can't accept any other gifts, as the gods are going to be, this god is selfish and wants only that one gift. And that's one. Two, everything has a catch regarding the humanoid. And in that, we start to go into the last moments here. I bring up what is a humanoid. And yeah, so in D&D Beyond, or Dungeons & Dragons in general, one of the classifications or types of monsters is a humanoid. Bipedal, somewhat intelligent, and they've got, what did they say, 24 pages of these different humanoids. And so I had to define what these humanoids are. We ended with that. Now, at the end of the night, they had gotten their final gift. They had the sun sword. And the other thing in this room, when they finally made it to this last room, another reason why I really wanted them to get in this room was the brazier. There's one of those teleportation braziers are in there, so that could be an avenue if they try to use it for how they might leave this place, how they might leave this place without going through the cold temperatures. Because I believe at the end of the night, before they started that last battle, it was 3 p.m. So we'll have to see. I think they may want another rest. Will they get it? I don't know. Is there anything? Will they want to investigate the rest of the room? At least one of them may not want to leave this Amber Temple. There might be things for him to do up here. But with the teleportation brazier, maybe they have an avenue to come back if they wanted to. So that's another reason why, I wanted to give them their gifts. I wanted to have, at the end of the night, give them those emails for the temptation they might have. And B, I wanted them to see that they were right there, and there was some hope that they might be able to escape this place. And they had their sun sword. So they now have the three things they need to succeed. What are they? The three things they need to succeed. First of all, they have their ally is Irina. They have the Tome of Strahd. They had the Holy Symbol of Ravenkind, and now they have the Sun Sword. So it'll be really interesting to see, what do they do next? Where do they go from here? Do they embrace those dark gifts? Who of them are going to accept them? Will there be any that deny those dark gifts? And if they do accept those dark gifts, what are they going to do with them? We'll have to see. That'll be next week. So this is the recap of, what was this? December. If I jump back here, December. It's not December. It's January. It's Thursday, January 6th. This is the recap of Thursday, January 6th. And I had fun. I hope everyone else had fun with it, as this was the 4th session of Amber Temple. Next week, will it be the final session of Amber Temple? I guess we'll find out. Until then, we'll see you next week.